What's the fastest you've ever regretted a decision? Trying to compliment my girlfriend when I'm tired. She had surgery on her face not too long ago and said I think I got ugly, and it took a few seconds to register, but then I went to say not possible. But by then she had said I think I got uglier. So I ended up saying not possible to that. I changed the name of the 40+ icons on my friend's desktop to duck. I tried to change them all back after, but something was really ducked up. If he dragged any icons to the right side of his desktop, they disappeared in an invisible black hole. He had to reinstall Windows. When I jumped into a bear pit to rescue a woman, I immediately regretted that decision. 1 second. After telling my co-worker she was beautiful, like my dog. Oops. About 5 seconds after every time I masturbate. I bet some friends that I could throw this giant rock over a 3-story apartment building. I'm not sure what led me to believe this, but as soon as it left my hand, I regretted it. It made it to the 3rd story and just kissed a window. The entire thing shattered and we bolted, but someone saw and told management. We were interrogated and ended up confessing to everything. I wish I was as smart as 6th grader. I decided I didn't have to poop today before I left the house. Not 10 minutes later. Was cutting jalapenos and had to go to restroom, and needless to say my junk was burning for a while. About 2 weeks ago, just after getting into bed with the missus. I'm pretty sure this is a fart. How wrong I was. Using wood matchstick to light a candle. Having dropped matches before, they generally go out before they hit the ground. Anyhow, this voice told me not to drop it into the trash can without making sure it was out first. What's the worst that could happen, I asked in my head. The trash can caught on fire. Immediately, I went to the derm to have a small mole removed from my cheek. The second he cut it off, I realized I actually really liked it. Everyone asks me now why I had my beauty mark removed. Idiot. Had sex with a prostitute. Felt like a cheap whore afterwards. Going vampire in oblivion. After I raw dogged some random girl on her front lawn on the 4th of July, I had to make a nice trip to the pharmacy the next day. The second I finished answering what's your salary requirement, I foolishly quoted my salary I was making at the time. I got the job and the salary. Stupid thing was, on the drive to the interview I was thinking, what should I say if they ask for a salary? Just flat out unprepared on my part. How long does it take to come inside a girl without a condom? Went to Vegas for 3 days. Had $40 left on the 3rd day. Put it on black. It landed on red. Had $0 left. I chugged a whole bottle of Cisco because my friend bet me $5 and a bottle of Cisco that I wouldn't do it. I later on discovered why Cisco is ranked the #1 bum wine on bumweens.com. Edit. www.bumwine.com. First marriage. Before I started walking back down the aisle. 1 second after I say a tasteless joke that nobody laughs at. I feel like probably anytime someone breaks a bone would be fairly fast. Perform action. Break bone. I regret this decision immediately. This morning I tried on a new Bluetooth headset thingy in my right ear, then checked myself out in the bathroom mirror to see how dorky it would look in public. I think to myself, whoa, that doesn't seem very secure. Better stress test it to see how careful I need to be. I shake my head to the side and it immediately falls into the toilet to my left. Throwing yo-yo at the ground with the string still on my finger. That bad boy missed the ground, swung around, and cracked me in the back of the head. On a first date with a new girlfriend. Instant regrets. 13 weeks ago I decided to come inside my whom I've been having a very rocky relationship with and regretted it immediately after. I saw the ultrasounds today and she's keeping it. On the one hand I'm going to be a daddy, on the other hand, duck. Told my friend that okay, I'd date him. As I went to my car, immediately realized that I didn't like him. That I would be embarrassed to tell my family. That I didn't want anyone to know. I waited a few days before telling him. It was the worst few days of my life. In grade school on a Friday afternoon we were running from an off-site class to the main building, passing the parking lot with all the UFest kids and their moms to pick them up. As my buddy went for a slam dunk on a net facing away from the kids, I decided to pants him on the rim, catching pants and boxers. He was hanging on the rim, ass naked, and all moms went nuts. One kid actually started to cry after parent wrote in claiming he was laughing and wagging his D in their faces. We both were expelled, although I instantly regretted it. It was so worth it. I must have been 9 years old, and I was farting around in the garage while my dad was fixing stuff. We had those steel things that you can drive a car up on to change the oil, with little holes drilled in them. I stuck my finger in one of the holes, and it was stuck. I had this immediate and intense regret, paired with the terror of impending pain, the anxiety of those few minutes between the regret, the knowledge I was about to experience agony, and the actual pain was terrible. Poured in the cereal. Didn't have any milk. I won't go into the details of the end result, but it all started with me thinking I'm just gonna pull the duct tape off really fast to get it over with. Jumped off the side of a bridge for what I thought would be a 10-foot drop. It was not. Was about 7 years old, waltzing around in a mini playground that had monkey bars. I wanted to be Superman and tried to skip about the first 3 bars. Not a second after I jumped did I realize that I was far too ducking clumsy to be Superman. Dreams ruined. Fassa planted onto what I remembered was a metal tipped edge of the platform. Who the duck covers a plastic landing strip of a children's playground with metal. Didn't need stitches though. Just have a wicked, though fading by now, over a decade later, scar across my nose. About to share a smoothie with a super hot girl, and got tongue tied. All I could say was, "You don't have mouth herpes, do you?" A girl I had a huge crush on said I was cute. I thanked her. Drunkily having sex with my ex who has herpes, with no condom. 1 second after I agreed to do something I had neither time or desire to do in the first place, just because I felt obliged to a person that was always nice to me. There must be a way other than ignore to reject someone if they don't understand and know the first time they hear it. I bought Dishonored in the Steam summer sale. Installed it. Computer couldn't handle it. Cried. Accidentally got icy hot on my D. So much regrets. Let's just say milk was a bad choice. I got into both the University of Michigan and Michigan State. I chose Michigan State, and I sent an email to the University of Michigan saying I would not be attending. About 30 seconds later, I wished I had the ability to go into the computer and grab the email to make sure it never got to the person. Tried to fart in bed. Hid myself. The pull-out method is not a good choice of birth control. I was going on a several 100-mile trip and my husband didn't want to go. I decided to invite an old childhood friend. We hadn't hung out much in a decade, maybe once or twice a year. She's ultra conservative and religious, while I'm a liberal atheist. We are polar opposites in almost every respect, and while I love her, there is a reason we don't hang out. As soon as I hung up the phone, I thought I've made a huge mistake. Turns out she didn't go after all, so it worked out. As a lactose intolerant with no self-control for cheese iced cream, I pretty much hate myself before the spoon has left my mouth, which is approximately 30 seconds before my ass explodes. When I was 11 I decided to jump my bike off of a tractor-trailer loading ramp. I regretted it just in time to hit the brakes, but not quick enough to avoid going off the edge. When my son was about 3-4, my wife and I took him to a local swimming pool to get him acquainted with water. Start the process. I guess I have unreasonable expectations because I was pretty much swimming when I was 3-4 due to my mother taking me for free lessons and have been a strong swimmer since. So I tossed my son into the deep end to see what he would do. He sank. After a few seconds of seeing if he would somehow fight his way to the surface, my wife spurred me into action. I jumped in and fetched him. He was fine. No worse for the wear. He didn't even cry. The part my wife likes to remember is that in no way was I prepared to have to go in after him. I was fully clothed, had all my belongings still on me, wallet etc. She laughs because I genuinely had an expectation for him to not fail and didn't prepare for that at all. I know this makes me sound like the worst dad ever, but there was no malice intended. From the moment I realized this wasn't the best idea, to me actually getting him is probably the quickest I have ever moved. My wife and I look back at this and laugh now. Shaved off my beard. Instinctively went to stoke beard. No beard. It wasn't necessarily immediate, but the morning after I got my first tattoo I regretted it the second I woke up. I had just turned 18 and was bored one night. Friend of mine thought it would be fun to take me to get a tattoo, and although I had been thinking about getting one for a while, I had no clue what I wanted. Once I got to the shop, I let my friend, who is a male, decide on something, which ended up being a revolver that I got on my left hip bone. His reasoning as to why I should go ahead and get it even though I was hesitant: "Oh, in the future there will be ways to remove tattoos, no problem if you don't end up liking it." Needless to say, I got it covered up a few years later, and the cover up isn't much better either. Signing up for surfing lessons. I can't swim. Last night I told a girl I have feelings for her. Regretted immediately. Hot sauce in the pee hole for $30. Had a recruiter call me to interview me for a job and she just asked some general questions. She said, "Okay, great. I will pass you on to a hiring manager." There was a long pause and I thought she meant that she would pass on my file and my answers and they would call me later. But as I moved the phone from my ear and moved to hang up the phone, I hear "Please hold for," but my finger had already hit the end call button. Epic fail on my part, and then no matter what, I couldn't get a hold of them to explain what happened. And here I sit a month later, still unemployed. I tried to do a backflip on a trampoline. I did not do a backflip on a trampoline. When I was 5 years old, I wonder what would happen if I stomped on this nail. Well, I'm eating Taco Bell right now. I used to sell computers for a small PC server building firm. One time, I was talking about a few laptops with a customer who was in a wheelchair. Pretty cool guy, somewhat familiar with technology and PCs, so I didn't have to explain too much in regards to the hardware. This is a mouse. It accepts input from you, the user. The topic of gaming on laptops came up, and I mentioned how the integrated graphics in most notebooks were really insufficient. But instead of saying the integrated graphics cards are typically very good in laptops, I said the integrated graphics cards in laptops are pretty crippled. I did not even get to the first P in pronouncing it when my entire brain screamed, "Why oh why holy it, what the F-K were you thinking?" I went from perfectly calm and jovial to wanting to fenestrate myself through a plate glass window in half a syllable. I knew what I said. He knew what I said. His solicited no unusual response to my crass verbal duckery. I have no idea how I was able to keep my face composed. I literally just carried on with the conversation and sentence without blinking an eye, while in my mind I was having Vietnam-style flashbacks and shooting up neighborhoods. I did not even think to apologize to that man, and I still regret not doing so. "Hey, drunk Jason, can you help me move tomorrow?" "Sure, bro, every ducking time." Nobody will see this, but I think I've got the fastest. My senior class was discussing a survey and one girl's response to her biggest fear was failure. "Really?" I asked. "Not being stranded at sea, getting shot, being burned." God, I'm so sorry. I had totally forgotten she'd been severely burned and nearly died several months ago. She still had scars and newly grafted skin. About 20 minutes. When I was 25 feet in the air without a helmet on, watching the landing I was supposed to be landing on, snowboarding, go by as I kept soaring up, ended up landing in the flat below the jump. Next thing I remember is being told I got a concussion by a nice nurse lady in ski patrol. The thing that sucks is I always wear a helmet, but about 20 minutes prior I had decided to take it off for some odd reason. I once traded in my trusty jalopy for a newer car because it used too much fuel. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized that I had just spent an enormous sum of money, all my savings, on a deposit plus 4 new tires, plus expensive monthly payments for the next 4 years, in order to save maybe a cute $30 a month on fuel. Took the car back to the dealer the next day and pleaded sobbed at the dealer until he relented and cancelled the deal. That car and I went on to have many great adventures for the next 10 years. A girl in high school invited me to come hang out with her around midnight. Her parents were sleeping, so I had to sneak in through her bedroom window. I stepped on a PVC pipe coming out of the house to get a boost. Pipe broke. Water everywhere. Parents woke up. Went home of Iran. I was more than slightly drunk at a Subway and could not, for the life of me, make a decision. I ended up just pointing at one. I think it was a turkey avocado thing. Ended up vomiting profusely starting about an hour after and ending about 2 days later. Still have a hard time smelling Subway. The first time I was ambushed in Afghanistan, I realized the infantry was probably not a good decision. There was one time I went to an interview for a job. I was talking with the interviewer. He asked a bunch of questions, as interviewers do, and I lied about stupid stuff that I should have just told the truth about. I have a bad habit of lying for no reason. He asked me how old my parents were and I told them they were slightly older than they actually were. I don't even know why. 3 minutes later the interviewer is telling me about values that are important to him. Of course, the most important value of his was honesty. At that point I was kicking myself in the head and hoping to all hell that the interview would just end without me being found out. Even after that point I still lied about some stuff and kept kicking myself every time. Eventually the interview comes to a close and I'm just about to leave when the guy asks me if it's okay for him to ring my parents just to talk to them about the job, cause I was under 18. I say that's not a problem. While in my head I'm hoping like crazy that the guy doesn't ask about anything I lied about, especially my parents' age. He just asks about the normal stuff and doesn't check up on anything I lied about. The interview ends and I drive home. I spent the entire week afterwards regretting the lies I'd told. You sound just like my mother said to GF at the time. Using the mirror to navigate my hand to a 450-degree curling iron. Forgetting that right means left. I dared to look at the Steam sale. Also, frying bacon topless. Never use shampoo, ever. Conditioner works fine though. Spraying Axe on the testicles. Nothing like bobbing your junk in the toilet while scrubbing furiously. My 10-year-old daughter learned to pitch a softball this summer. Fast pitch softball, that is. One afternoon I took her to practice at the dirt patch with backstop at the elementary behind our house. A bunch of neighbor kids came out to watch and play ball with us. Having the friends around totally distracted her and she was pitching everywhere but to my glove. Tired of chasing around wild pitches, I stood up and told her to quit messing around and pitch it like you mean it. I got back down in the catcher's crouch and turned to shoo away a couple of the younger kids that were crowding too close. When I turned back to give daughter the go ahead I quickly discovered that she'd already pitched. And by God, she meant it. Fast ball. Perfect strike. It broke my ducking nose. Saw my crush at a stoplight and I knew that she was going to take a bus to go to my campus. Bearing in mind I had only spoken to her a few times. She had her headphones and so I thought I know. I'll ring her to see if she wants a lift. That won't be weird. I regretted this decision pretty much immediately. And no, she didn't pick up. I posted an unpopular opinion on Reddit. Sorry guys. So sorry. I'll just go back to lurking. Yesterday, I took a massive bong hit and 3 seconds later my new boss surprises me with a call to come into work for my first day. So much regret so fast. Jumping off of a 75-foot cliff, milliseconds. Shaving my beard. After the first few hairs fell into the sink, I regretted it. The bad part was that the place where I started shaving was very visible. So I had to continue and shave almost all my beard, while already regretting it. PS. About 2 months later, it's mostly back, and I can't imagining me shaving it ever again. You have sugar? Nah, not interested. I have things to do. No, really, no thank you. Just a taste? Well, okay, maybe it'll help pass the time. Yeah, that's nice. I can just go about my day. A little more? Sure, why not? This is great. Oh, you're out? Do you know where to get more? Sure. We'll split a bag. First refusal to buying my own. 3.5 minutes. Spamming the A button while talking to keep or a Gibora.